may not be how, was that the question?
No, it is how do you study?
Was that right?
Yeah, like concise, but you said it as it is, which is true.
My channel's very honest.
As it should be.
We don't hide anything here. Hello everybody, so welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name's Amelia and I'm a first year medical student. I'm joined today with Mashiat.
Hi guys, so my name is Mashiat and I'm a second year medical student going into my third year, and we're friends from school.
Remember when we were applying to medicine together?
Literally in the same year. And now look at us.
So we thought we'd do a little Q&A today, answering all the questions that you may have if you're starting medical school, or even if you're just in medical school and wanted to see how other people find it and how other people find the medical course in general. So we're going to be spilling the tea on how we find medical school and some things that people don't talk about. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around to watch. And with that being said, let's get into the video.
The first question that I have for you, Amelia.
Oh, I'm going first. I'm in the
Amelia's
hot
going
seat.
I think this is a question that everyone asks is medical school super stressful?
Right. It depends on you as a person and how you manage your time and how you manage your workload. So at the start, I did find medical school stressful, but that's only because I was just settling in. I found it really stressful when I didn't know what I was doing and I felt like I was failing my exams. But now that I've figured it all out, and you are going to go through a figuring it out stage, now I've figured it out, I don't find it stressful. It fluctuates throughout the year whether it's stressful or not. Obviously you are going to be more stressed 2 days before your exams as opposed to at the start of the year. That's just how it is in anything, any degree. If you're dealing with your stress and you're on top of things and you're keeping on top of the workload and you're organised, it's not stressful. That's just from my personal experience. If I'm behind on my work and I've got 50 million lectures to do and I've not done everything I need to do and I've got an exam coming up, yes, I am going to be stressed. But if I'm on top of it and if I'm organised, I don't feel stressed most of the time. If you're on top of everything, there's no reason to be stressed, so just keep on top of everything, essentially. How do you take notes at medical school?
Okay, that's actually a really good question, because I feel like every single medical student will have a different answer for that question. So what worked for me in year one isn't what worked for me in year two. After finishing second year, I just use my lecture slides, and what I do is I use an app called Notion, and I make Notion toggles, so like questions based on the lecture, and I convert them into Anki's, because for me, like, flashcards really work well for revision and just learning the content. For me now, understanding the content is more important than making the notes, so I'd rather sit there in the lectures and actually just absorb the information.
Do you know, non-medics, when I tell them that medical students don't tend to make notes, they think it's crazy, but we don't really sit and make notes from lectures, do we?
A lot of it is more question based, because it's like actually applying whatever you've learned to a clinical scenario and like understanding the content you've learned. But I don't necessarily like just make like notes of everything the lecturer said. Another way that this is more revision technique that tends to help is just blurting. So just before an exam, really, like, I'll have a topic, so whether it's like, I don't know, like embryology or something, and I'll just write down anything that I know about that case or that topic and just kind of remind myself, oh, okay, this is what I'm missing, so I need to ask myself more questions on it. And the biggest thing is do questions, like do like past med questions and all of those things.
Past paper questions are so important.
Is balance achievable in med school? Bit of a heavy question, but what's your opinion on it?
I'm a big advocate for balance, and my goal going into second year is to actually have a lot more balance than I did in first year. I'm not gonna lie, in first year I didn't have much balance. I was either doing nothing or
everything.
everything. Like, there was no in between. I say balance is achievable, but you've got to know how to balance before you can balance. So you might not be balancing as well in first year as you will be in fourth year. It's just something, it's a skill you learn essentially. But it's definitely achievable, and it's definitely something you should aim for.
You're not going to have it figured out the moment you step into like medical school. Realistically, you're gonna have those days where you feel like you could have studied more. You're gonna have those days where you feel like you should have studied a bit less. that person who gets like that 90% and that person who gets like a 60% pass, it's kind of, you're still graduating as a doctor. So it's definitely worth like preserving your mental health and making sure that you have a set amount of work that you do, whilst like balancing your relationships and the things that make you happy, because they all add to you being a really good doctor. It's not just what's on those papers and what's on those like grades as well. So just that helps with finding a little bit of balance as well.
And I've learned from my mistakes, so I'm going to take that into second year with me, and honestly, it's going to be a different person. You're not even going to recognise me. There's going to be no 12-hour cramming days 2 weeks before my exams, because I'm going to be so on top of it.
No, I feel everything Amelia said. I felt it in myself.
What advice do you wish you knew when you started medical school?
Ooh, that's a heavy one.
This is going to be like a motivational moment. Hopefully.
It would be to make sure that throughout medical school not to compare my progress to other people. So whether it's like my revision sessions, whether it's like whatever grades I'm getting, whatever I'm doing, how much work I'm putting in, it's actually like a bit of a black hole when you go into the whole like comparing yourself to other people in med school energy.
It is, don't compare yourself. That is my biggest piece of advice, because you might be talking about something and you might be talking like about all the things you know about it, and I think, oh my god, you know absolutely everything about every medical 100%. Thing possible, and in reality Masha just knew the things she was talking about.
Exactly.
So I might know something that Masha isn't talking about or doesn't know about.
Just because someone knows so much about something, you have to also remember that they may have a whole degree behind them, or they may have like different projects or different things that they've been associated with, like a research project or something, so they know a lot about that. Sometimes we just see the outcome, we don't see the work behind it. So just remember there's a lot of work behind everything, so don't compare yourself with it. Because how much time the commitments of medical school really take?
How time consuming is medical school? Okay, this is very dependent on the person, and it's dependent on how well you are at time management and being organised, and how efficient you are. How much time I was spending at the start of medical school was different to how much time I was spending at the end or during exam season. Like, it is up and down, and it is dependent on the time of year. However, you have to think about the fact that you do need to also be putting the hours in to achieve the grades that you need to get, but obviously that is very individual to the person. If we're learning about a topic that I struggle with more, I might spend more time. If we're learning about a topic that I pick up like that, I might spend less time. And I don't necessarily count my time based on hours and minutes. I try and count my time based on what I get done and how much I am achieving during the week. Rather than saying I'm going to spend an hour on this, I'd say I'm gonna do this, this and this, and that's what my work is, and it is how long it is to do. But you do have time besides medical school. Like, you do have spare time.
I promise you do.
You do. Like, I did so much. Well, in my first term I went to Norway and I went to Prague and I worked and I did all my medic stuff as well, and like had social activities. So I definitely did other stuff. Like, I had a life outside of medicine for sure.
The biggest thing to remember with studying is just remembering, like, study smart, not hard. Someone could be studying like 15 hours a day, you could be doing like 6 hours per se, and you're doing just as much. It's just making sure you know what works for you.
And one thing I would say as well with time is the people that are doing 15-hour study days aren't doing it right. And I am speaking from experience because I was doing 15-hour study days because I didn't do it right last year. That's not how you should do it, and that is not how I'm going to do it next year. How to deal with feeling like you're not good enough.
I feel like this is a question that we're both going to have a lot to say, because this is a universal experience. Like, the whole concept of imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not good enough is something that a lot of medical students face.
But you don't realise that, like, everyone's going through it. You just think, oh, it's just me, I'm just not good enough. But everybody's feeling like that. Medics are used to being the best of the best, and like, you shove all the best of the best into a little bowl. It's just a recipe for disaster, really.
You're in that mindset that, oh, I don't deserve to be here. You feel like everyone else knows what they're talking about. You don't know that people actually know what they're talking about. A lot of the times people seem very, very confident, but they're in your situation. Imposter syndrome is something that people tend to experience from first year all the way to even working within medicine. What helped me combat that was actually just coming to terms with the fact that I'm here in itself, I got chosen to be here, shows that I'm more than capable of it. And it sounds really cringe, but sometimes I even had to say that to myself, like, in my head before, like,
did you say
like,
out loud?
No, it wasn't that bad. It's gonna be a gradual process of you combating that, like, internally. Like, you're gonna tell yourself that, hey, I do deserve to be here, and you're gonna start believing it eventually.
Yeah.
How do you actually study?
How do I study? I'm still figuring it out, to be honest. You know what? I do everything different. So like I learn embryology different to how I learn pharmacology, and it takes a long time to find out what works because different things work differently for different subjects in medicine, and what worked for A level might not work for medical school. I am not a flashcard girl. Like, I'm not. Most medics...
See, like, for me it works, but for Amelia it doesn't work, and that's okay.
Most medics use flashcards. Like 80% of medics use flashcards, and the whole year I was like, I'm gonna fail because I'm not using flashcards and everybody else is. But it's just because I find them boring. Like, I find flashing cards boring, so I'm not engaged and I don't learn. My mind's thinking about what I'm having for tea, not what's on the flashcard. So I need something that's going to engage my brain more. Saying that, I do use flashcards for pharmacology. I use other interactive methods like whiteboards. I love whiteboards. Oh yeah,
we did a lot. I love group study, like just blurting out, like making a mind map or like going over a topic that everyone finds difficult and everyone chips in. I'm one of those people that needs to write out things to remember it. I have like a proper Anki pad. It's so sad, but it's like a proper, kind of notebook. I just call it like a fat notebook, and I'll just if you want to read it, just look like gibberish, but it's just me answering my own questions. That's how I learn it.
Spaced repetition is like the most important thing. Like, it doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter if you use a whiteboard or if you use Anki. Like, it really doesn't matter, but you have to do it. Like, that's one thing that everyone has to do, because if you do something in September, you're not going to remember it for exams. So you've got to use spaced repetition to like engrave it in your soul.
For sure.
How I study may not be how you study, but it's important to think of different study methods and try everything and just see how it goes.
What works.
Yeah. When do you start studying for exams?
Ooh, I think, do you know what? That's very different for different people. So I like to make sure that whatever content we're learning, I learn it quite well when we're doing it. Like a month or a half before the exam, I don't want to be making revision material. I want to just be studying and consolidating it. So my exams were like in June, and I was studying from like Easter onwards, like really getting my head down and studying.
I would say study for the exam all year. When you're learning things, have the exam in mind. Like, I'm learning this for the exam.
Yeah.
It is a marathon, not a race.
Yeah.
So you don't want to burn out too early. So I was studying quite hard before Easter because I had like some exams, and then I took Easter a bit chilled, and then I started after Easter when I got back because my exams were late June. Yeah. So that still gave me like 2 months to really study.
Oh, that makes sense, because mine were like early June. So see, it depends on who's studying for what. So once again, don't compare yourself to other people, because see, like, we had exams in different time frames, which is why we were studying in different time frames, Is med actually hard?
It is and it isn't. I'd say 80% of the content is pretty straightforward in terms of you get it. You're like, oh, that makes sense. And then you've got 20%, which is a bit like, what the is going on? But it's just how much of it there is. Like, that's the difficult thing. I would like be learning stuff, and then it's so frustrating when you forget things because you just feel like you're not getting anywhere. But that's where active recall and spaced repetition comes in. It's hard because there's so much to learn, and your brain has only got so much space
that it can take,
and you're not going to know it all. I promise you're not going to know it all. My A level, I literally learned the book for the A level. Do you know what I mean? Like biology, I learned the book.
That's all you needed to know.
Medicine is like an infinite topic, so you can't just learn a book because it's infinite. There's so much to learn, so you've just got to try and be content with what you know and like be confident with what you know. There are some concepts which are a bit tricky, and you're like, I don't know
what's going on.
But sometimes you just got to accept defeat in that situation, and you kind of learn that as it comes up, because it might not even come up, and there's no point spending 3 hours on it if it's just not going in.
And in terms of the content, you will get through it, and you're not going to know 100% of it. But with that 80% that you can get through,
Yeah, definitely. So that was our set of questions for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A. It's actually really fun to film, isn't it?
And we hope that this was really useful. And we try to be really up close and raw in terms of like how it is, and we just hope that it's somewhat useful to you guys.
So thank you so much for watching. Really hope you've liked this video. If you have enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like and comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and Bye.
Bye. Take care.